Hello guys and welcome to my new video. So today I'm going to be looking at the early BFA battle for Azeroth Resto Druid changes. So like I mentioned, these are very early class talent changes, spell modifier changes and things like that. So a lot of things will change again and again and again and again, but looking at the different talent changes, it's interesting to see where Blizzard might be going towards class uniqueness and class balance. And this week there has been some druid changes, unlike previous weeks where a lot of other healers received quite a few changes. Like, you know, I did a video about resto shamans and their chain heal getting like 8-second cooldown, now it's 6-second cooldown. So like I said, it's changing all the time, but resto druids got something to talk about. For the people who weren't aware, a couple of weeks ago, restoration druids did get one change, and that was to do with talent swapping, and like a talent was basically removed. Displacer Beast was replaced by Tiger's Dash, so that's a tier 30 ability. Activates Cat Form and increases movement speed by 200%, reducing gradually over 4 seconds. So Blizzard removed the blink ability, and you can see why they did it, because Blizzard wants class uniqueness to come back, and they want kind of mages to only have the blink ability. And blink abilities like Displacer Beast is basically a direct copy of Blink. It is so overpowered. It's so much better than, like, you know, any of the movement increasing abilities like Resto Shaman, you know, Gust of Wind, and like Roll from Mistweaver Monks. All of those abilities will give you a speed boost like Tiger's Dash, but they won't let you skip over boss mechanics. Blink lets you do that. Like, a prime example of that is like Elisande in Nighthold, where you could skip over the rings and prevent, like, you could play really badly and get caught out completely, but Blink will save your life. And I feel that the removal of Displacer Beast is quite sad, because Displacer Beast is one of those talents where, you know, prevents that, lets you play not that well and still, you know, survive. And it's quite sad to see it go, but I can understand why Blizzard is doing this, considering that druids in general have a lot of survivability with bear form and things like that, so I can see why they're changing this. But last few weeks, Tiger's Dash was added, Displacer Beast was removed. So what's happening this week? What are the changes this week? So here you can see kind of like a preliminary changes. Talents have been swapped around. The Healing Touch has been removed completely. Healing Touch has been completely removed. I mean, this is not a big surprise. If you're a PvE healing resto druid, you should never use almost Healing Touch. I know a couple of people who use Abundance right now in the current servers who use Abundance. They might be using Healing Touch, even though Regrowth with the, you know, guaranteed 100% crit is still a better way to go. Basically, Healing Touch sees no play whatsoever in PvE. In PvP it's different, but it's not surprised to see Healing Touch go. This is a bit more surprising thing. So Living Seed has been completely removed, and you'll see why Living Seed has been completely removed. So Living Seed is when you critically heal a target with direct healing portion of Swiftman Regrowth or Healing Touch, and basically in 5 mans it was the Regrowth. In 5 mans, Living Seed could do quite a decent amount of healing, because you would Regrowth a lot. If you use Abundance, you would have 100% crit chance. So Regrowth and Living Seed were quite a strong, like, Living Seed complemented Regrowth build, and that's been completely removed. And that's because Regrowth has not been removed, but the Regrowth's initial crit chance has been removed. So if you're playing your Resto Druid for the first time or whatever, you'll notice that your Regrowth might be critting a lot more than it should be, because Regrowth's initial heal has 40% increased chance to critical effect. So basically what that means, you need another 60% to make it 100% crit. And with Abundance you could do that. But they have completely removed that crit modifier from Regrowth, making it really hard to reach that, you know, 100% crit chance. And because they removed Living Seed, it's no longer as, you know, as awesome to crit with Regrowth. But you'll see why. So I'm not going to cover the Tranquility change, I'm going to go straight to Abundance. Because Abundance has been changed to kind of correspond with the Regrowth changes. So for each rejuvenation you have active, Regrowth's cost, so the mana cost, is reduced by 6%, and the critical effect chance is increased by 6%. It used to be 10%. So what does this mean? So basically in a 5-man scenario where you can have, with Germination, where you can have 2 rejuvenations on everyone, you'll have 10 rejuvenations running. So regrowth, we're looking at a 5-man scenario, one of the best case scenarios. In raids you can have more than 10 rejuvenations and things like that. Let's look at that. So you could have on average like 60% reduction in mana for regrowth and a 60% crit. But that would not make it 100% because the regrowth initial crit has been removed. And on top of that, you know, your baseline crit, how much crit you have. The interesting part in all of this is that it reduces regrowth cost by, like, you know, let's say on average 60%, 70%, maybe 80% on really good scenarios. That is really, really insane. One of the primary reasons why you don't use regrowth is that it's so mana hungry. It costs a lot of mana. If you try to just go in regrowth build in like a raid scenarios and just keep regrowing, you'll run out of mana in like a minute or like really, really short time because regrowth is so mana inefficient. And regrowth's value also comes from the fact that you place life bloom procs clear casting, then you get free regrowths. And the only real reason right now to use regrowth in raid scenarios is to use it during the clear casting proc where the regrowth will cost no mana. But this abundance will change this. I can see this being as a direct buff to Resto Druid spot healing because regrowth won't cost that much mana and you won't feel bad about using regrowth. Now, the fact is that the mana has been reduced, but the whole interaction with crit, like you no longer will have the 100% crit, you no longer will get extra benefit from Living Seed because that's been removed. So overall, regrowth has been nerfed, but the mana has been reduced, so you probably use more regrowth, but it won't be as good. So it's interesting to see how that's going to affect Resto Druids. I can see where Blizzard is going with this. They're trying to introduce, like, they can see that Resto Druids in raid scenarios just don't look at regrowth at all. Like, unless someone's about to die, like 5-10% HP, and they don't trust other healers who don't spot heal, like your Holy Paladin is not spot healing them, not placing Holy Shocks on them, you might be using regrowth, but you'll feel bad about it because your mana is going to be so tight. So right now, it might, in Battle for Azeroth, it might be more interesting to see that Resto Druids will be doing more spot healing, but that's like early days. So that's one of the biggest changes that happened. Besides that, there's been a Tranquility change. So Tranquility heals all allies within 40 yards for 35%. So the coefficient changes, the percentage changes, the nerfs. I don't really look at the percentage nerfs because a lot of the spells, I've done the Resto Shaman one, they've been nerfed, they've been reduced, they've been changed. There is going to be stat squish in the future. So I don't look at that at the moment. I don't look at it as been a nerf because it only affects 35% of spell power. I don't look at that. I look at this. Over 8 seconds, each heal heals the target for another 12% of spell power over 8 seconds, stacking. So it's really weird it's really hard to determine exactly how that's going to work. The way I read it, basically Tranquility is going to heal the longer it's active. So the more ticks it gets, and each tick is going to increase in healing. So this is like it's a direct advantage to players, Resto Druids, who are going to channel their Tranquility to full. And you might ask me, like, why does it matter? Like, right now I can channel my Tranquility to full no matter what because it's mobile. But it's been mentioned by a lot of the WoW devs, it's been mentioned by Ion as well, that Tranquility most likely won't be mobile in Battle for Azeroth. You will have to make sure to cast it in situations where there is no movement. So I actually said that in that video. If they're going to make this, they should give an incentive to people who will get that full Tranquility off, who will get the full duration of Tranquility because they prepared their location, they know where the damage is incoming. And this sounds exactly what I've just said. If you get more ticks of Tranquility off, it will do more healing. Now the disadvantage of this is that most of the damage patterns, it's either like big initial hit happens and you want a big healer cooldown happening at that time. And over the next couple of seconds, you know, people are going to try to stabilize, the healing cooldown is going to be active. So your healing cooldown is going to be, like, Tranquility is going to heal people, and also all the other healers are going to try to catch up. And if Tranquility is going to heal more with each tick, I feel that a lot of that will probably still go into overhealing, even though it does heal for more the longer it lasts. So it's kind of like, I'm not sure how it's going to work. Maybe the damage patterns are going to change in Battle for Azeroth. Maybe there's going to be more continuous, strong AoE damage. I'm actually quite happy for this change. I want people to be rewarded for full duration tranquilities, especially if it's not... Like, it's not been confirmed yet that tranquility is going to be immobile, that you can't cast tranquility on the go. It's not been confirmed, but people, a lot of devs said this. So now, let's look at the talent changes. So that's been kind of interesting. First of all, Flourish. Flourish extends the duration of all of your heal over time effects on friendly targets within 60 yards by 8 seconds, and increases the rate of your heal over time effects by 100% for 8 seconds. So this is basically Essence of Ganir. So you know right now you have Essence of Ganir, which also increases the frequency of all your heal over time effects. And then you have Flourish, which extends the duration of your heal over time effects. So this has been combined into one spell. And this is, in my eyes, is good and bad. First of all, a lot of people, or most of the people, will be combining their Flourish and Essence of Ganir. Like, they'll be wild growthing, then flourishing, or then Essence of Ganiring, or whatever combination they'll be using. But a lot of the times they'll be like, if I'm using Flourish, I'm gonna make sure that my Essence of Ganir is active at the same time, because Flourish has 1 minute cooldown and Essence of Ganir has 1.5 minute cooldown. And you try to line them up. Now, for the people who know the damage patterns, for the people who know, like, in the mythic guilds and heroic guilds, if they play with the same amount of healers, they know how other healers behave, and you're like, okay, for this part, I'm not going to use everything. I'm just going to extend my HOTS with Flourish, and then I know in the next 30 seconds, there's going to be Essence of Ganir moment. So, for the people who might not combine this together, this is kind of like a nerf, you know, it simplifies the class a bit more, because right now you have one strong cooldown. Besides Tranquility and things like that, you'll have a really strong Flourish combination with Essence of Ganir thing. Overall, like I mentioned, it simplifies the class. It's basically spell pruning in a way. It's removing a cooldown, adding it to one. It's not a bad change. I feel at the end of the day, I still feel it's a kind of decent change. It simplifies the class, but it also removes some complexity. So it depends what kind of player you are. Depends how you view this. But at the same time, I'm always coming back to this. A lot of people will be combining these two spells, already in the game. So it's almost like, why not? Why not just combine them into one? And it's not too bad. The cooldown has been increased to 1.5 minutes. So you're actually kind of losing out if you don't combine. If you don't combine them all the time, you might be losing out a bit. But I don't think it's a bad change. Another big talent change has been Germination has been moved to tier 7 and Stonebark has been moved to tier 6. So this is what your talent build is going to look like, which is really, really interesting, because in tier 100 you will have Germination and Flourish, and in tier 70 in tier 90 you will have Inner Peace, Stonebark and Spring Blossoms. So what does this mean? At the start I was like, I don't like Germination to be in tier 100, because if Germination is in tier 100 I have to choose between Germination and Flourish. Flourish has become much better because it's Essence of Ganir right now as well. And I was like, I don't want to choose between them because they feel so strong right now. Germination can be really strong, Flourish can be really strong as well. If Flourish wasn't buffed into Essence of Ganir, absolutely, it'd probably be Germination for most of the times. But this gives the possibility, because Stonebark has been moved, it gives you the possibility of Spring Blossoms and Germination. Spring Blossoms and Germination sounds awesome. Why? If our mastery still sticks into BFA, Battle for Azeroth, if it's still there, if it still affects your healing based on the number of HOTS you have on the target, Spring Blossoms, which gives you an additional HOT, Germinations, which gives you 2 rejuvenations, it's going to be really, really strong combination. But at the same time, I feel Blizzard did a really good job with tier 100, because they added Flourish, which is also right now is buffed. So it's actually still a really tough choice, in my eyes. It's a tough choice between Flourish and Germination. Because sometimes you might be like, I want that 1.5 minute cooldown that's going to be really, really strong. But at the same time, if it's a fight that is stacked, and Spring Blossoms can work well, and I can combine it with Germination as well for the extra mastery stacks, that could be really, really awesome. I feel tier 100 is a really tough choice. Like, I mean, Moment of Clarity is probably in raiding scenarios, it needs to be changed. Even if it has been buffed multiple times, and still people, it doesn't work. Germination is going to be a great choice. Flourish is going to be a great choice. In tier 90, Stonebark, first of all, I feel it's too of a niche talent. There needs to be an additional effect added to it. Maybe a cooldown reduce, maybe an additional healing component or something like that. Stoneback is too niche. I don't think any Resto Druid in raiding scenarios has used Stoneback in any effective way. But now, you'll see that Spring Blossoms in tier 90 is really, really strong. Spring Blossom is going to be really strong. But what happens if you're doing a fight that there is no stacking at all? I feel that Inner Peace with, let's say it was a nerf, the buff, the Tranquility or whatever, Inner Peace could become like a decent choice. By having Inner Peace, you have 2-minute Tranquility, so therefore your raid leader might say like, hey Mr. Resto Druid, you should be using Tranquility first because it will come back sooner. So Inner Peace could become much more viable, but Spring Blossom still feels a bit too strong in this tier. Like, I feel that most Resto Druids will still go with Spring Blossoms, maybe combine it with Germination or Flourish. Like, I definitely feel Moment of Clarity needs to change, and possibly Solo the Forest needs to be buffed in tier 75. Because Cultivation and Tree are in a good position. You go with Cultivation on progression fights where a lot of people taking damage. You go with Tree where you know Cultivation won't do that much healing because people don't drop below 60%. So this is a good talent choice between these two, but Solo the Forest needs to change. So this has been my, like, I'm excited. Germination Spring Blossoms, that's almost kind of like a dream come true. But these has been the initial changes for Resto Druids. I'm kind of happy. I'm kind of happy to see where it's heading. More spot healing, possibly more spot healing. Maybe Abundance is going to change again in the future. I mean, I need to see how Tranquility is going to change. Are they going to make it immobile, not being able to cast on the move? How are they going to do that? Regrowth, I'm actually liking regrowth changes. I want regrowth to be like, you know, reduction in mana, so make it a much cheaper spot healing option for Resto Druids because you never use it. Flourish combination with Essence of Ganir. I think most new players, new Resto Druids will actually prefer this choice way more. Overall, I feel it kind of does remove a bit more complexity, but I think it's a decent change. And the talent choices, I mean, they need to change something with Stoneback. Stoneback right now is just not really a viable talent, especially in raid scenarios. So this has been my overview of Resto Druid Battle for Azeroth changes. Let me know how you feel about them. Let me know how you feel about Displaced Beast being removed. Bring back Displaced Beast. That's what I'm gonna say. Either way, guys, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.